You're live.
All right, we will start the IDA board meeting. It's approximately 2:35. And I'll start with Scott and ask everybody to please state your name and your role.
Scott Gardner, Economic Development Specialist, Wyoming County IDA.
Jennifer Tishka, IDA staff. Robin Marshalik, Director of Operations, IDA.
Jim Pierce, IDA staff.
Doug Burwanger, board member.
Mark Dad, board member.
Becky Ryan, board member.
Joe Bozowski, board member.
Kevin Zanner, IDA counsel.
Attached to the agenda, you will find the minutes of the last meeting, March 14th, 2024. Give everybody a moment to look through those. Does anybody have any questions or corrections?
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. In addition, we have the financial report, which is dated March 31st. And Robin, could you give us the highlights, please?
Sure can. Started out the month with cash on hand, $146,612. Invested funds of $2,107,990. We had just a little bit of interest earned in March, and for expenses, we paid our audit expense. Since our audit was finished, we had conference and training and the lease and rent, and with our payroll added in and just a few minor monthly payments, we had $35,839 in expenses, and we ended up the month with $110,855 in cash and $2,107,990 in invested funds. If you look over on the back, there's our budget. We're a quarter of a way through the year, so you can kind of judge where we're at as far as we haven't got a lot of our revenue in yet that we're expecting, but we will be getting more. Our expenses are at about 20% total, and that's, we're pretty close to the 25%. And then in payroll's at 22.5, so, or 23.3, I'm sorry. So total expenses at 22.5%. So it's about where we should be for the quarter.
Any corrections, discussions, or additions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the financial report.
I'll make a motion to approve financial.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Jim, could you go through item 3, please?
Sure. The IDA board had previously provided inducements to Sunrise Court, which is the manufacturer of the squash ball courts. They're located at the former bowling alley up here on East Hill in Warsaw. They are in the process of renovating the building. I think all of our staff at one point or another has stopped to check on the progress of the project, and it's coming along very nicely and will be quite nice when it's finished. They're also putting in a couple courts. There's a racquetball court. They're putting in some pickleball courts, and they are not quite finished with the project, so they've asked for an extension of the sales tax for one more year, primarily to finish up the courts areas and then to finish up the manufacturing area, which is where the lanes were in the back. But they new roof, everything. It's just they got to a point where Heather Aldrich, who was full-time branch manager at Community Bank, quit her job and went working up there full-time now.
I wondered, I haven't seen her in there in the last 2 months.
Yeah.
Good for her.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the extension as requested?
Hold on to it.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
And Jim, your report.
Yeah, just quickly, some updates since we last met last month. Myself, along with the Building and Codes, Health Department, Chamber, we all were invited by Brian Becker to go over and pay a visit of some businesses in Berrysburg, a couple projects that are underway right on Route 28. Brian wanted to see the progress that they were making and then identify for the developers what sort of resources that we could provide. So there are some plans to do some follow-up meetings with the owners of the building. The hotel was one of the projects, and the other building is directly across the road from the hotel, this very long structure where they're proposing to put in some sort of possibly a visitors center there as well, with bathrooms, so they claim, which would solve a big problem.
Brian wants that.
So a follow-up will continue on that. I also had some recent conversations with TPI casting operation out of Arcade on a small expansion project. They're also looking for resources to add 2 new robotic cells. If you've ever been in TPI, it's a aluminum casting operation, so they have this hot molten aluminum in which they have robotics that take that molten aluminum out of an oven and scoop it out, and it pours directly into the molds, and that's all automated. One of the challenges the company's been having is keeping a workforce fully staffed to do some of the cleaning and polishing of the parts, because these parts come out of these casts and they're pretty messy. A lot of stuff squirts off the side, things of that nature, and a lot of hand labor was involved. So last year or 2 years ago, they put in a robotic cleaner that's kind of gets that part almost to like 90% of a finished product, and it requires much less labor. They want to put 2 more of those units in now and are looking for some funding to do that. So we have some resources at the state that we're hoping can step in and do that. Each of the robotic units is in the neighborhood of like $600,000 to install, and operate. And then they have to hire programmers for each one of those. So there's some small job creation, but it's just kind of a neat little project that several years back, we attracted to come to Wyoming County. I think, Doug, you were chairman at the time. You remember the hoopla about that company coming this way. So I think Tom Moran was the chairman at the time. That's how long ago it was. So. Also, I met with Letchworth Valley Campground owner. He's having some issues getting enough capital together to finish his project. He utilized our money. The bank, Tompkins Bank money is still being utilized by him. It was supposed to be a 3-pronged lending project. SBA backed out, kind of left them high and dry. And so now we talked about other financing alternatives to get that third piece in so we can further expand his campground and get things finished up there. So I want to let you know we also closed on JB Contracting, the loan that was done through the BAC, and we also closed on Silver Lock and over at the lake, which will allow him to buy the remaining units that he needs that will fully build out his facility, and he'll be done with that. And at the end of the day, he'll have a total of 29 units that are rentable. And during the season, which he claims is relatively short, he gets about $250 a unit a night. So it's a good source of revenue for him. It also generates some bed tax and some sales tax revenue as well for the county. So that's where that is. Just wanted to let the board know that I'm once again involved with this Grow New York food and ag competition that is done through Cornell Cooperative Extension. Been involved since the beginning of it. Last year, they asked us to step in and help with the whole idea is to provide grant funding to a company that's not in the region. And if they win the money, the deal is they have to move here for a year. And so last year they had a company called Cattle Scan based out of Toronto that has, I think I described to the board once before, kind of a small little capsule looking thing that is placed in a cow's stomach, which monitors the health and benefits of the cow, monitors all that. So we work with them on trying to find some local resources here within the county. They were very happy with the work that we did, and they actually secured $500,000. They were one of the award winners. So I'm staying in touch with them because they have an obligation to be in the region, and I'm pushing that they be in the region called Wyoming County Region. So we'll continue to stay in touch with them, but they were very grateful for our help, and hopefully the company will do well. The last thing I wanted to give the board an update on is MK. We issued the RFP for the asbestos controlled demolition disposal. We had several companies come through on a walkthrough, and we ended up getting 7 bids for the project, ranging from $523,000 up to $1.6 million. That's quite a range over 7 bids. We evaluated them in-house by our economic development team, and then brought in our qualified environmental professionals at Labella to provide their insight as well. And collectively, we have decided to award the work to a company out of Niagara Falls called Metro Environmental. We issued an award letter. Council worked with us on developing a contract, which was finished and actually sent off. Was it this week or late last week? I think I said
It was early this week.
Was it early this
Yep.
week? So they have the contract in hand. If they get that executed or don't have a lot of changes on the contract, work is scheduled to start May 6th, and they'll be wrapped up by no later than April 30th. And because of the way the funding came in, it's more than sufficient to take down all the buildings that we want to take down with this first phase of the project. So we're delighted with that. In fact, we'll have some money left over where we can do some alternative work there that might require, taking out some foundation and things of that nature. But I have a meeting tomorrow with our designated developer who's soon going to take over the next phase of this and say, we got some extra money to do some extra work. We want to make sure we're doing something that's going to help you, not hurt you. And so we can identify where we can spend those extra dollars. So we're delighted where the bids came in, and that we're going to be able to finally get those things knocked down.
Jimmy, hauling away the debris, or does that stand?
Everything's going.
Perfect.
Yeah. So the truck route is to take North Street, so you might hear some complaints about that in the town of Arcade, because they're gonna,
They're going out up over the hill.
yeah, they don't want to go through the village. And
Just what it is.
yeah. But anyways, we're really pleased with the progress, and are delighted to get that thing down. So with that, I would leave that as my executive director's report.
Okay. And with regard to item 5,
Yeah, we were, I don't know if you caught word or not, that Idlewice Farm, which is located in Freedom, Cattaraugus County, is doing it's a dairy farm, doing a $32 million renovation of the farm, which will include like 6 new barns, manure digester, and they have decided and found out that because of the manure digester, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kevin, on this, because we've done a little research on it, they are considered kind of a municipal waste operation, and therefore are eligible for tax exempt bond financing. So they are going through the Cattaraugus County IDA, And they are not only looking for some tax exempt bond financing, but they're looking for all the benefits that an IDA provides, even though they are eligible for them themselves as an ag operation. So they're applying for the sales tax exemption, the pilot, the mortgage recording tax, and the tax exempt bond financing. So that kind of gained the interest of some of our larger dairies. In particular, I got contacted by Markmore Farms, who said, we just took over a dairy. We're thinking about doing some similar things. Does your IDA have the ability to do that? Well, in this project, Idlewise, they're looking for $15 million worth of bond financing. And so Kevin and I conversed, and then we did some research to find out if the IDA could provide these bonds, because we have not provided any bonds here. And
A long time.
since the inception of Beaver Hollow, that's how long ago it was. And so after some research, it was determined by Kevin that we do have the ability to do that. So, I got back in touch with the folks at Marquardt today, as well as some of our banks that have called and who have been involved with Marquardt as well, and let them know that we have the ability to do this. Kind of the whole concern is that, when it comes to tax exempt bonds, there are certain dollar amounts that are allocated to each county based on kind of population, the most recent population trends, according to the census. And they're divvied up by Empire State Development. They coordinate it. And so they look at the census tract, see where you are population-wise, and say, here's your allocation. So in January of this year, we got a letter from Empire State Development that says, your allocation of tax exempt bond financing available is $1.6 million. Now, that doesn't go very far for a $15 million project. So it's my understanding, and Kevin and I have chatted about this as well. So ESD allocates these bond allocations to the 130 IDAs across New York State. And not every IDA uses them, like we haven't used ours for the last 20 years. Mm-hmm. And so there's a process where the state will go out and canvass those areas that have received their allocation, say, are you going to use that? If not, they work with you to bundle and bring those tax exempt bonds to your project. I mean, that's a process that we would have to go through if we have an eligible project. We currently don't have an application in hand or anything, but we wanted to get the message out to, in particular, Marquardt's, but to all the large dairies that may be looking to expand because of all this milk processing that is growing and expanding in the region, that, we do have the ability to do that. So that's really, I guess, for the basics of what we had on the agenda. It's something that the IDA has the ability to do, has not had a request for it in many, many years. And we may have to blow some dust off.
You say Cat County is doing one now?
Yeah.
And they got 12 million?
15 million.
15 million. And how did they get such an allotment?
I think they did the same process. I had Robin go through and do a kind of a historical search about where we are for our allocations. And it ranges everything from like 1.2 up to this 1.6, which is probably our highest allocation.
But you're saying they may have
Probably
they may
borrowed
have
some
lined up
allocation.
unused
Right.
from other IDAs.
Yes. And the only reason we can think that maybe they went through the IDA for the full benefits, because normally an ag project is already exempt from sales tax, and they get the ag exemption for the property, is that maybe they want a longer pilot to stretch out the benefits. Because right now the ag exemption for like a new barn is like 10 years. But they could ask for a larger, longer term for a pilot on that. And then, of course, the mortgage recording tax exemption is something that's attractive to them as well. Anyway, so if you get any questions about that, that's, we've done some legwork on it, and I think we're well positioned to do something here. So
Idolize, there's a day goes by, somebody doesn't have a conversation about it, somewhere. So,
Oh, is that right?
oh, yeah, it's a big deal. 32 million, 100 cows on a carousel.
I can't picture a carousel that holds 100 cows. That's what I've heard.
Big one.
How large is their anticipated span gonna be? They're big now and they want to really increase. So any idea of how far up they're going?
For the Idolize? No, I have no idea. They haven't had their public hearing yet. It's scheduled, I
Give me
think,
an idea,
for June.
it's big.
I mean, right now, the research that Kevin came up with, he got a copy of the application, he got a copy of the IDA board resolution, which gave us kind of the background information about what they were applying for, what they anticipate.
Well, there's a lot of talk about it, like I said, because they're on Arcade Electric.
Oh, are they that far off?
Either they want it, and it, of course, purchase power. This is municipal electric, so the rates are much lower than NICEAG or National Fuel or whatever. And people are complaining because there was a high purchase power cost this winter. And now, and this is just what I hear, if they come online, the purchase power allotment will be year round instead of the biggest cost being in well, it takes a lot of electric to run it, but then of course if they've got this digester, they're going to be producing electricity. So,
Which they are contemplating whether or not they're going to own and operate it themselves. There's
sure.
talk about having a third party do it as well.
Does the village have enough of power to supply that?
No, they don't, because we're in that purchase power now.
They gotta apply for that.
Well, they're going to have the power. It's just that as the usage grows, the purchase power, which is is like a surcharge on your original power.
They only get so much allocation of
Right.
hydropower, which is the cheap stuff.
Yeah.
Once they run out of that, they have to go out on the market with the other munis in New York State and bid, and they usually secure nuclear power and things like that. But as Doug indicated, they're paying more for that power than the hydro, and that's where the PPP comes
Because
in.
everybody's used to having a bill that's $100 a month in the winter, and now it's
Right.
$250.
And that's why you get all the
And then
businesses there.
everybody hears about this big project coming in, and they're gonna use X amount of electricity. There's no secrets anywhere.
Whatever happened to the digester that we had some cooperation with Genesee County, remember that years ago?
We still,
Was
the
it
Synergy project,
Yeah.
That's still going.
still operating.
Has it been successful?
Yeah.
For a while, it was the hot topic around here.
Yeah, that, and there's one at Noblehurst Farms.
Doblehurst.
Yeah,
There was a $20 million tied up with the one. Went to the hospital.
that was quite.
I just
Well, there
remember
was
that we spent a lot
agricultural and industrial.
we spent a lot of time,
Oh, yeah.
a long time ago.
They came in for a pilot and then determined they didn't need to pilot. It was gonna be an ag operation,
Yeah.
but it got too big where it was considered a commercial operation.
And there was legislation saying that it was not taxable.
Yeah,
I think I was my former career, I got involved in that one.
oh, did you?
Before I was allowed to come to this high-powered place.
Anyways, I thought it'd be a good discussion item to throw it down there.
Yeah, it's great.
The next item, 5B, this is our 50th anniversary, 2024. Our marketing and PR guy has been working with us on coming up with some written things that we're going to be putting in some local papers, including a proclamation at the county. And we'd like to, well, Scott, why don't you describe some of the things that we've talked about with kind of the planning where we would like to have a cake maybe and go over the Board of Supervisors meeting and,
Yeah, so we'd have to take the normal process that would come in May and then planning, and then in June, have a proclamation passed, and then we would have a little celebration over the Board of Supervisors as the governing body that created the IDA back in 1974. There's some other items, some giveaway things and whatnot for the supervisors, and those are the 10 that we would bring, but hopefully that would also generate a story. We wrote a story that we're gonna put probably an excerpt in my newsletter that's gonna go out daily, mid-month. So that would precede it anyways, but, some historical notes and some highlights of projects and successes over time. So,
in some of the research we did with the historical stuff, there was a lot of dads mentioned in the whole process. But according to what we found, the original board members were Charles Van Arsdale, which would be Bud,
right.
Louis Cerveni, Hayden Rozier,
Yeah, Arcade owned the hardware store.
Thomas Griffin,
Yep.
and Frederick Stevens.
Oh, I think you guys, everything went that way then.
Wow.
You could see the slant from the creators of it.
Oh, yeah.
But Van Arsdale was not an Anakin.
No.
But it was interesting, going back and reading and seeing the old documents.
I have some of those old documents that survived. We used to bind everything. And so we had all the agreements, everything bound volumes.
Are these as important as Donald Trump's documents and Joe Biden's?
Well, I've been hiding them.
In the bathroom? There you go.
He
They're in
did,
your Corvette.
Yeah.
he determined they were unclassified.
A long time ago.
Yeah.
Maybe 50 years ago.
All right, so we'll keep you up to date on what we come up with, but we probably should touch base more with Becky and
Sure.
about coordinating this with the Board of Supervisors as well.
Yeah, like Scott said, the main committee meetings, and then it would come through
June.
planning,
Planning,
and then the June Board of Supervisors meeting.
Yeah. A little
So-
celebration at the end.
Yeah.
So I'll also need to get quotes from you, and I would like a quote from the chairman as well for the press release.
But we're thinking ice cream cake, it's got to be Wyoming County. It has some dairy.
This is June, it's gonna be Dairy Month.
That's what I was thinking, is Dairy Month too,
They have the queen there
so
to
we'll have
dish it
punch
out.
and cheese and crackers.
Do I read that Yummy's is going to open another outlet?
I had not heard that. She's got a manufacturing operation she's opening in Perry.
Yeah, it might be.
Maybe, I thought she was going to open another. I was hoping. Because the ice cream that we have, it's very good, but it's in Genesee County, just outside our
Yeah,
boundary there.
we tried to get Miss Carpenter to. She was originally going to do that on the farm on Exchange.
Yeah. That didn't happen. Still, the ice cream is excellent.
Good.
Okay. I was looking at item 6, and as you remember, two meetings ago, we talked about making sure we had most everybody here when we discussed this. Again, kind of shy with members. What I thought maybe is we could take a few minutes now to talk about it generally. And I thought, to be fair to all the members of the board, we could make a proposal and a tentative proposal, however you want to word it. And perhaps just get it done the next meeting when we have most everybody here. That's
Sure.
because it's a pretty big deal, I think, for the staff and for us to.
Keep going on, the year will be over with. Get it
Oh,
done.
I'm sorry about that, guys. So if our parliamentarian would help me go into executive session here.
Just ask for a motion.
Okay.
I'll move that we go into executive session,
You make a motion, you're making a motion to,
making a motion.
yes,
Right.
go into executive session. I'll second that motion.
Do we all agree?
Aye.
Did you want the, oh, don't forget to
Turn it off.
turn it up.
What do I do?